Umbrella Academy Season 4 just released, and to say the ending of this story was shocking is genuinely an understatement. With everything that happens in this season, there is a lot to discuss, but before we get into that, if you are new to this channel and you go on to enjoy this video, please subscribe. I make videos on the Umbrella Academy and many other popular shows, so if you enjoy this video, you will probably like them as well. Anyway, let's get into discussing the Umbrella Academy Season 4. Now, first of all, I want to talk about Allison, because she was a big talking point from Season 3, and she definitely did not have as big a role in this season, and she was back on the hero's side instead. We saw Victor and all the other siblings forgive her this season, which, as much as people are going to hate that, I'm fine with. You might as well end it on good terms, especially given the ending we got in this season. Other than that, she really didn't have too big an involvement within this season. She was not pivotal to anything that happened ever, really, other than saving Klaus, which could be partly to do with how she was received last season. I'm not sure. Next, we got Luther, and Luther in this is still as funny as he has been in the past 2 seasons, and I just enjoy his character. Other than season 1 where he's like investigating his dad's death, he really isn't that major in any of the plots. He's never the central focus, and honestly, he's not here, but I don't mind that. I enjoy him just being the comedic relief, and he does that well again. We also have Grossman in this, David Cross's character, and I think he was sorely underutilized. I would have loved to see more of him and just generally wish he had a bigger role, but I do love the twist that we had with him turning into Abigail. Before going into the season, I had a slight idea that Abigail may turn on Reginald and realize what he's done to bring her back and go against him, so it wasn't super shocking that that is exactly where the plot went, but I still enjoyed it playing out, and I think that is the way to go to beat him. Something that might be sad to many, including me, was that Klaus's role in this season was not that big. In the other seasons, he never had necessarily a major impact on the main story, but his subplots were always so good. He was always going on these like tiny weird adventures on his own or with one other character, and they were always so entertaining to watch. And yet for me this season, I don't think it did it for me. I think it was just generally way less exciting because he was held captive, whereas all the other ones he's kind of going on his own thing. He was also slightly more angry this season and scared than what we're used to, and I feel like that didn't resonate with me as much. I kind of liked how his character was in the previous seasons. It was fun though seeing him in the first couple of episodes being this complete germaphobe and just terrified of anything that could even cause him harm in the slightest, when he was always the most carefree of anyone. Ben was also good in this season, 100% an improvement from the last. He was still angry and spiteful, but the level at which it was played was at a realistic amount. Before, he always felt like a pantomime villain, just angry for being angry, and yet here it actually worked. You could tell it was the same Ben from season 3, but you got to see more of his true character here, and it felt like a natural development. The Jennifer incident in this season was actually brought up, and we actually got to witness the original one from the first timeline, and I definitely did not expect it to play out exactly how it did. Like, we knew Reginald was bad, but I did not think he was the one that killed both of them. The connection Ben and Jennifer had though throughout the season was handled perfectly. They did clearly get on when they first met, and if anything, she was the one that lightened Ben up, and that was quite nice to get. And then you can see the attraction that they both have to each other just growing throughout the season. We as an audience know most of that is just the Marigold and Durango, but it just works so well. Victor this season spent most of his time with Reginald, and it was mostly to get some answers out of him and to actually fully understand why he did what he did to him. But it was also to stop him from killing Ben in the end. I liked everything to do with his pairing this season as well. It's very similar to obviously Klaus and Reginald last season, but something about this just felt really nice. That may be a weird word to say, but that is the feeling I get from watching it. While we're on the topic of Reginald, I did enjoy him this season. We had that conversation with him and Victor talking about how Reginald lives in the black and white and that sometimes they have to live in the grey, and we get to see that with him. It's the first time I think we've ever had him see that, because rather than just shooting Ben straight away, he allows Victor to try and help him, and ultimately this leads to Reginald losing his life and this whole world he's built, but it doesn't feel out of character for some reason. It feels like he actually wanted to do that this time, and I would like to say part of that is to do with him being with Abigail again. From some of the scenes we got in the middle of the season, it seems like she has that effect on him. She can like warm him up essentially, and for the 100 years he had without her, he clearly was just so cold. There must have been a reason she loved him, and clearly he just lost that without her. Lila and Diego shocked me this season. They were a lot less functional as parents than I thought they would be, and they essentially split up in like the 3rd episode, and Lila ends up getting with 5. For some reason, I don't think everyone agrees on this opinion, I actually bought it. I felt like it was real. I did enjoy the subplot throughout the whole season of this multiversal railway with Lila and 5, and the concept itself is incredible. I just wish we got to see that more. The coolest thing we got was seeing them try and revert the original apocalypse and find out that it's not the Sparrow Academy or the Umbrella Academy, it's the Phoenix Phoenix Academy. And we see Alfonso back as well as some child with flamethrower-like powers. You don't always need to do cameos and go to wacky universes when you've got a concept like this, but they really missed out on it when they had the montages. I feel like if you're doing a montage to show them being here for 6 years, you at least show some of those universes, and they didn't show you any. I was hoping we'd see loads of different academies and maybe get to actually see some of those other 43 children, or maybe some different apocalypses, you know? Like, there was so many different things you could have done and characters you could have brought back just for these little scenes, and there was nothing. And that was a little disappointing. The only other characters I haven't spoke about are the Genes, and I did actually think they were fun. Less comedic than I thought, but they did work in the season. With the story of this season having a similar thing to Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness, in which your dreams are just alternate versions of yourself throughout the multiverse, I fully understood the Keepers and the Genes and what they were doing and why they were doing it. Whilst I don't think they were as fun and as engaging as Hazel and Cha-Cha from season 1, I see their relevance in the story, and it was a great part of the story. The main plot of the season, though, was really good. I love how the two elements come into play that were synthesized by Abigail. I do like the idea of these two elements. They're essentially the essence of the universe, and that when together they cause things to end in it. I really enjoy that. I think some of the explanations to do with it are a little weak, and I wish they took a bit more time with that, because Abigail references that this destroys their world, singular, and that they shouldn't use it to destroy this one. And yet later on, the Umbrella Academy let themselves get eaten by it, and that somehow just resets the whole universe and timeline. There's just some missing part there. If she said somehow it ended their universe and that they managed to escape to this one, then I would fully believe that that's what happens, you know, it's like a reset. But just some of the terminology used makes it so hard to piece together how it all works. Seeing all the secrets come out from Hargreaves and learning all these extra things like the Jennifer incident, that was just great to finally piece some more things together. Also, I absolutely loved the scene where Ben and Jennifer merge into that beast for the first time, and none of the Academy can do anything about it. Their powers are just doing nothing. To me, it felt weird to watch at first. The music was so unsuspenseful that it just wasn't exciting, and you didn't believe they could do anything. It really set in that mood of hopelessness, which continued throughout the rest of the finale. Five discovering the multiversal versions of himself, and finding out that him and his family's existence itself has caused this multiverse, and everything to do with timelines to go to crap. Like I said, all the parts don't fit together nicely continuity-wise, but the sentiment and concepts are all there, and it does truly feel like this is what's happening, and they are the reason why. It doesn't feel like that's just something they've made up. Like, you believe that it's rooted in this universe. Whilst I can't currently make sense of everything that happened in that finale and how it all pieces together to the wider story, I'm planning to come up with a way that it all works and fits together, and I will hopefully have a video out soon where I kind of go over the whole storyline of the show and how everything we've got now pieces together and makes perfect sense. Because when you're dealing with time travel and multiverse stuff, it's hard to wrap your head around sometimes, especially when there's a couple inconsistencies. That ending though, with them all sacrificing themselves to what I'm gonna label as Bennifer, is so great. From some comments I've had on other videos, it seems some people do not like it, but it's hard for me to say where I stand at this current moment. It's so sad knowing none of them exist afterwards, but for some reason I can't help but feel like it's such a fitting end for this show, and it's also something you don't always see. It's so bittersweet because I feel like they should survive, and I like to watch a show knowing the main characters that I like end on good terms, but at the same time something about it just feels so right as an ending. And ending the show with seeing a perfect timeline that's unaffected by the Umbrella Academy, and seeing all these characters that were wronged during the show living a normal life was just really nice. Although I do have some theories of that not being the case because of who we see there, and I will cover that in another video, whether that be that timeline video or another one completely. Despite me enjoying this season though, I do feel like it would have benefited from having more time in it. A couple of elements to me just felt rushed and or kind of just not focused on enough. Like, where was Ray and Sloane? I was fully expecting to see Ray being a part of this, like as a full character, because why wouldn't he be? He's not just a figment of Allison's imagination now, he is a tangible person. He was gone. Didn't even get a scene. Did not see him once, not one frame. And Sloane's no different. She's just gone. I feel like with Luther going off and finding her that she would have came back, but no, she's just nowhere to be seen. And not to mention, they barely bring them up. It's like one throwaway line from Allison for Ray, two from Luther about Sloane. I don't know. I feel like that's something that they should have just touched on more, because they are two really major characters from this series, and I wanted to see more of them. Also, why did the Academy actually leave their normal lives to go and save this Jennifer person? At the time, they didn't know it was the Jennifer from the 2006 incident with Ben, and yet they drop everything and go. Even Diego and Lila, they just leave their kids to go on this mission, despite it coming from a person who just kidnapped Victor. Although saving this girl is important, I feel like they wouldn't just up and leave their family because a kidnapper wants their child child saved. It's a bit too quick for them to get there, and I feel like if we had a bit more time with the season, we could have done that. The cut down to 6 episodes is quite a jump from 10, and whilst the runtime of each episode itself does increase quite a bit, I feel like that lack of content just causes that to happen. I still think they went for 6 episodes purposefully, because the story feels like it should be done in 6 episodes. I just feel like they underestimated how much time they needed to kind of fill out the things that surround the main plot. Overall though, I really did enjoy this season, and also its ending. I still have quite a few questions, and I'm never going to get the answers to it, but sometimes that's quite fun. We get to come up with our own explanations. The show Umbrella Academy is still one of my favourite shows of all time, and I am sad that the show's over now, but I'm just hoping that in the next couple of years we get some other show that's equally as fun, equally as interesting, equally as weird and wacky and cool and fun as this. Anyway, make sure to let me know your thoughts of this season down in the comments below. I would love to know what you think of the show and how the writers actually wrapped it up. And if we get enough comments here, I will make a video about them, talking about what the community thinks about the show. With that said though, thank you for watching this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.